For the longest time, Yuki Tsunoda has been heavily linked with a move to Aston Martin for 2026. After all, he is Honda backed and he was overlooked for the top Red Bull seat. However, things have changed since then. He's now in the Red Bull Racing seat, but despite this, apparently Honda, the sole supplier to the Aston Martin Formula 1 team for 2026, they're not supplying any other teams. They're switching from the Red Bull teams over to Aston Martin for next year for the new engine regulations. They will have some influence on the drivers, so could we see Lance Stroll finally out of a seat in Formula 1? Well, I'm not holding my breath. We can hope though. We can hope. But let's see what's been said here, guys. Full story on the F1Chronicle.com as always. Honda will have a say in the driver lineup at Aston Martin in the future. Both Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll are already under contract for 2026 when they will get to race at the first Adrian Newey designed Aston Martin. However, there have been whispers that Honda would like Yuki Tsunoda in a green car as soon as possible, and some early speculation is beginning to swirl about the 43-year-old Alonso's future, as well as how long Stroll, who was notably slow at Suzuka, can survive even though his father Lawrence owns the team. Dutch Grand Prix boss Jan Lammers admits he can imagine Alonso quitting Formula 1 at the end of the season. I have the idea that for a long time that Max Verstappen and Aston Martin can do something together, he told Ziggo Sport. As soon as Lawrence Stroll has the idea that he can pry Max away from Red Bull, I think he will do what is necessary. He simply has that attitude. At present, Honda has a say about the driver selection at Red Bull, with 4 cockpits to fill at both the main team as well as the Racing Bulls. But with Stroll, 26, seemingly protected by his father, that leaves just 1 Aston Martin cockpit that Honda can have influence over the next year. The number of seats will be reduced, admits Honda Racing Corporation President Koji Watanabe, speaking to Japan Times. Obviously, the team has the final say in deciding which drivers join the team, but the situation will be the same as at Red Bull, where we will have our say. Although they could well be ignored. I mean, obviously they wanted Yuki Tsunoda to be in the Red Bull Racing seat from the start of 2025, and they went with Liam Lawson. So they don't necessarily have to heed that advice, quite evidently. Meanwhile, Watanabe made clear that at a forthcoming meeting in Bahrain, he will strongly advocate that F1 proceed as planned with the 2026 engine regulation change amid talk of a return to V10 power. Our stance has not changed, he said. Electric is important to us, and that is the reason why we continue to join. The Japanese is confident Honda will be competitive in 2026, despite the fact its initial hybrid power unit supplied to McLaren for 2015 was a total failure. We had discontinued the project with Formula 1, so we were not prepared in 2015, Watanabe said. We started from zero. Now we're not starting from zero, so it's a smoother development. That's true. And I also believe that, the fact that McLaren was so bad in those years and Honda was so bad with them because there was a disconnect between them and the engine supplier, simple as that. Honda designed what they thought was an efficient power unit, but it turned out it was an efficient power unit for something that wasn't a McLaren. It was for something that was a lot more, would have had more cooling and stuff like that. That's why it's overheated and why it was so underpowered and hopelessly unreliable, embarrassingly so. As a McLaren fan, those days were dark. I thought it was the start of a new beginning, but it was almost the beginning of the end. But yeah, I mean, they don't have to heed the advice when it comes to, the drivers and stuff like that from Honda. I would love to see Tsunoda at Aston Martin. I'd love to see Max Verstappen at Aston Martin potentially, I think that'd be a really interesting combination. It just shakes things up, it's something different. Even if Max is winning at that point, which he probably would be, the guy can win anything pretty much at this point. On top of that, you have that potential there for just a bit of change, something different. And, Honda, absolutely, as much as they love Tsunoda, if they had the choice, they would go with Verstappen. I mean, it's cool to have a Japanese driver there for the sponsors, of course, but think about what Verstappen has done for Honda. 4 world championships. That's more than what Ayrton Senna got. And Senna was loved in Japan to a greater extent than what Verstappen is for different reasons, of course. I get that. But you understand where I'm coming from with that. There is previous there. There is a relationship there. And like I've said quite a few times, if Lawrence Stroll has the chance to sign Max Verstappen, whether he has to boot Alonso out of the team, whether he has to boot his son out of the team, he'll do it. He'll do it. He is a ruthless businessman at the end of the day when it comes to that. He loves his son clearly and he wants his son to succeed. And as a father myself, I totally get that, but he wants to win championships. He wants to be with the champion. Simple as that. And he's not gonna do it with his son, that's for sure. He could do it with Tsunoda, maybe. I rate Tsunoda very, very highly. I really do. But if you're gonna want to ensure yourself the opportunity to win the championship, get Verstappen in the car. $1 billion, worth it. $1 billion is what it's going to cost, apparently, if he was to do it, but we'll see what happens. I don't think Verstappen's too keen to leave Red Bull right now. I mean, it can change very quickly, as we know, but right now, given how good he was in Japan, proving that that car still got something, I don't think he's quite itching to press the eject button just yet on Red Bull. Your thoughts in the comments below, as always, though, guys. I want to hear what you have to say about this. Like, share, comment, subscribe, as always. Have a great day, and let's hope for a much better weekend in Bahrain than we got in Japan.